That's good. How did you feel?
Good, good.
You were like so perfect,
Oh,
you know?
searching for those words, that's a challenge for me.
Yeah, but you did
Yeah.
excellent. I think you have that knack to be on the camera and then you are something, like I was looking at your Instagram and then your podcast and then she pretended as if she's nothing when I went to the swimming Hi everyone, welcome back to Deep Dive with Varuna. Today's guest is Jewel Burgess. She's a full-time working mom and a cake artist. Her side hustle is selling realistic custom sculpted cakes. And she's from Rancho Cordova, California. So in case anyone wants to have a cake for their special day, do check out her. I'm going to leave her social media handle and your website in the description below. So if they want to reach out to you. Thank you for being my guest, Jewel.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your passion towards baking and how did it start?
Okay, well, my passion for baking actually started about 10 years ago. It actually started as a fluke. All I wanted to do was create a super cute, over-the-top cake for my youngest child, who was just turning 1. And of course, I was going to order it, and I started looking around and calling different bakeries and things like that. And I don't know if it was a little voice or a thought, and I'm like, what if I tried to make it myself? Never baked. Well, outside of, putting the box and the, doing it from a box and all that kind of stuff. So I actually did a little research via Google and YouTube and ended up making my first little cake. It was like about that thin, kind of looked like cornbread, but I was super excited. My daughter helped me, and the kitchen was a mess, but that cake, it was so cute. So we call it the cornbread cake. And that's how the baking started. And I can honestly say that once I made that first cake, I have literally been baking almost every single day. If not baking, then researching, because I didn't know what fondant was. I didn't know that I could actually make my own, frosting. So I got in there and I just started learning little by little. And that was September. My son's birthday was in October. So I practiced on a cake. I did his cake, which was a little Disney theme, I'll say little Mickey Mouse cake or whatever, with some store-bought toys around it and things. I displayed it at his party, and everyone seemed to love it. And they kept asking me where I bought it, who did my cake. And I'm like, I did this cake. And they're like, you bake too? And I'm like, well, apparently now I do. So I put it on Facebook, and I think I got a request for an order within the next 3 weeks. So I did my first cake for a customer a month after I started making my first cake. And then from there, it just kind of went on because this customer told someone else. And so she wanted cupcakes and cookies, which I've never made cookies before. I made the cookies, I decorated them, but all this was just as I was looking at, YouTube and Google and step by step. She loved it. She took her cake. She told someone else, and it just kind of just went, and these weren't like super great looking cakes, but they were pretty decent. And that's how it started. And it's been going strong and building for 10 years now?
Awesome. I did see your your cake, and it's brilliant actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Were you nervous when you took those first few orders?
Oh, yes. I was very nervous because I never baked or cooked anything that I actually would sell and, make money from. So I was very nervous. because it had to taste good, because now it wasn't just baking for family and friends, it was baking for like customers and people that I didn't know. So if the cake tasted bad or if it was dry or whatever, anything, could have came back, and it could have been negative, negative press, I guess, on me, and the word could have got around, and that would have been the end of my business.
And when did you start your business, and did it take off right away?
Well, my business actually officially started December of 2015, I believe. That's when, I got the licenses and the insurance and all that type of stuff to actually be able to sell legally out of my home. I'm gonna say it wasn't slow. I was getting a lot of orders for a lot of different buttercream only cakes, fondant cakes, cookies, cupcakes, cake pops, Rice Krispie treats dipped in chocolate, strawberry, dipped in chocolate. I mean, I took every order and request that came to me. But again, because I was a beginner and I was taking on all these different types of cakes, I was not skilled in the pricing of these cakes. So I was getting a ton of orders, but I was also not pricing right. And I think that when, kind of word got out that what she does is pretty good and her prices are super good too, that had people calling me a lot. And so I was I was paying people to make their cakes because I was making zero money and I was working my butt off around the clock. After I got home from work, I'd be in the kitchen until the next morning. It was a long process. So the beginning was pretty tough, but I paid my dues.
Yeah. In that process, when did Food Network reach out to you? I know you've participated in a couple of competitions. Can you share those experiences?
Yes. Well, it's really funny because Food Network contacted me via, I think it was email. I think they reached out via email and said that they had saw some of the cakes that I've done on my Instagram, because I started a little Instagram, and I believe it was 2 years after I started baking. So I started baking in 2014 and they contacted me in 2016. I was over the top because I grew up on watching Food Network and watching the cake shows. And I remember, watching Cake Wars and Halloween Wars and just thinking, how do they do that? Like, these cakes are outrageous. And now I'm sitting here in my room practicing for an interview to be on the show, which was mind blowing. And it was an honor. It was exciting, but I was very nervous because I came to find out that everyone that ended up being on my team had done these Food Network shows already, like years in. So I think it was just me and one other person that were the newbies that have never done these before. And being that I literally just started baking homemade cakes, or I guess cakes from scratch, and then being put on a show where I'm the cake artist, I'm the one that's supposed to be making, the realistic cakes for the show. Oh my gosh, I was very, very nervous.
What did you learn from that experience?
Oh man, what I learned from the experience was you really do have to fake it until you make it. You have to have confidence in yourself because nobody else is going to have confidence. Being on a team of 5, I was the only female. So the men on the team, they, hooked up. They were, they had a lot in common talking. I was kind of the outsider and the newbie and things like that. So it was really hard to connect as a team. I mean, we did it, of course, for the show, but I felt like nobody, not even my teammates, actually had my back. And during, the times that they, give us to set up and to prep and things like that, I had to stay in my own head and talk myself into it. Jewel, you're here because Food Network, the production team reached out to you. You're here because you're good at what you do. You're here because you're creative, and I couldn't let the negativity that I seen and felt from the people around me get into my head, or I would have easily just quit, just threw out the towel. I mean, there was a point in myself where I said, just forget it. You'll just go home. At least you got this far. But there was another part of me on this side saying, don't you dare. You are going to give it all you got until you have nothing else to give. And if they send you home for whatever reason, then at least you could say you tried, but you didn't give up. And so that's what I would say. You have to have confidence in your own self.
Excellent. That's a great self-talk.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Every cake that you sell is so unique. How much effort and time does it take for you to get to that masterpiece?
Oh, gosh. Even the easy cakes can take 5 to 10 hours. But the cakes that I do, and when I say easy cakes, someone will look at it and be like, that is not an easy cake. To me, it's easy because I'm used to doing super realistic sculpted cakes where I have to go and I have to build structures. I have to plan it out. So my process is, once I get a customer, calling to inquire, say on a character, 2-foot character that's having their hands up, or, something, I have to start thinking about, okay, how am I going to have this cake stand up? How much of it is going to be edible? How much of it is going to be styrofoam, Rice Krispie treats? Because they come also with, I want this, gigantic realistic cake and it has to feed 50 people. So I have to start with the planning, with the numbers, and then I draw it out. Sometimes I go and I print out all the different pictures. I print out blueprints. And I just start kind of pasting things together. It's a long process, so 20, 30 hours into it. And then of course the baking comes in, because I mean, the hard part is building the structure, so your cake can stand up. But then also you have to think about the colors and the color matching and the texture, and I mean, it's literally a work of art that you're putting together. So even if I spend 30, 40 hours, 2-3 days on a cake, you never really get paid for everything, because you can't charge for everything. Some people might say you can, but not in certain markets. But I think I kind of explained it in the long way.
No, that's perfect. I'm sure you must be burning the midnight oil. Whatever you're saying is like, it takes a lot of effort.
Yes.
How do you prioritize your day? Like you work full time, so how do you manage your day, prioritize it by changing different hats?
Oh man. So all women have to learn how to prioritize. That's for sure, because we do it all the time, especially if we're married or if we have partners or we have children. I just so happen to have a full-time job where, I work 8 hours. So everything that I do either happens on a lunch break, because I can easily put in a cake on an hour, bake a cake during a lunch break. And then after that, go back to work. But it's not until I get off work from my day job that then I switch hats from employee to cake artist, business owner. And that's when I return calls, that I have to give quotes. That's when I draw my sketches out. After work is when I go to, the grocery store if I have to, the hardware store, or go into my, my garage, which is actually, where I do all my sawing and building and things like that. So yeah, in order to make this work, I really have to be very precise in my timing, because I also, in between the work and the business, I have a family to take care of. So sometimes I'm a little league mom. So I have to deal with, the cake has to be put off until we get back from Little League, or I'm, have an appointment with my husband, or I have to cook dinner. So it's nonstop for me. So if it wasn't for the passion of the just being able to be creative, I don't think I would be able to do it.
I know it takes a lot of effort and sweat and blood to come up with those artistic pieces. I agree. So, what self-care do you take? How much time do you spend for yourself?
Oh no, I was hoping you didn't ask me that question. At this present moment, I don't do very much self-care, and I think it's just because this season right now is very busy, because I have my regular job and I have meetings there. Then I have my cake business, and then the family. And now I'm also going to school a couple nights a week for this fall semester for drawing and composition, which will eventually help me out even more in the cakes. But I don't get a lot of relaxation time. I'll take quick bursts of time for myself. Like, I like to go barefoot. I like to sit still in my backyard on the grass and kind of ground myself when I'm feeling unbalanced. I'll go for a walk. I'll listen to, jazz music and things like that. But I don't have a long-term self-care process that I do, which I need to do. Very important.
Excellent. Maybe for next time when we meet, I'll
time.
be hearing more about that. What challenges do you face with running that business, and how do you handle them?
Ooh, there's lots of different challenges. Do you mean like in business, or like, do you have like specific type?
Like when
Challenge.
you challenge, like when the customer doesn't like it, or when when you plan something but it doesn't go that way.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I have a ton of challenges because nothing is ever perfect. It's always, even though I've been doing this for 10 years, I still run into challenges. I still run into issues. There's no order that's just goes according to plan. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start it this way. Today I'm going to do this, this, and this. And and I'll have it done the night before, and the customer will come and pick it up. Never goes that easy. Either your white buttercream has a pink tint, and you have to figure out and find out, how do I color match to get something that's pink back white again? It's crazy. Anything that can go wrong on most of these cakes, they do go wrong. If you measure wrong and you try to put something together on a cake, it may not fit. So then you have to tear a cake apart. You have to recarve it, and I'm saying me. I have taken cakes that were completely done, looked at it, and said, there's no way that I can give this to a customer. I can't, there's just no way. It's my brand. The night before, I would tear the cake apart completely, either recarve or run out to the store, buy more cake materials, ingredients, bake another cake, make more buttercream, work till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and have a brand new cake redone, and then a few hours later the customer comes. I'm like, here you go, like it was nothing. I mean, I've shed tears, I've cussed, I went outside and pumped my finger up to the heavens. And this has been constant for 10 years. So if anyone says that they can just whip a cake together and it comes out perfect, I kind of would like to meet them.
How do you handle that stress?
It's very stressful. It's very stressful. I just came to that realization. And you know what? I believe that I strive in stressful situations because it's the same type of stress almost as we feel when when I'm on the cake shows. Because while I'm on the cake shows, it's go, 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 go. You have to get this done. You're under time restraint. But at home, I'm also under a time restraint. And so I have to remember to stop, to breathe, to take a moment, to sit down, and it's a lot of self-talk. So if I'm feeling negative and, this cake is just not going to work, this is so stupid, I can't believe it. It does help that my son, Benjamin, who is the reason I started this business, he'll say, Mommy, don't say that. I believe in you. And so that kind of helps me. But he has to tell me that all the time because sometimes I don't believe in myself, and that aids in the stress. And then I get anxiety. I start breathing hard, and I have to just learn how to just stop, breathe, and then I have to remind myself, Jewel, you've done this. You've done cakes bigger than this. You've done cakes more detailed than this. Actually, my daughter will be the one to remind me because I'll call her and tell her, this is not working out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be able to get this cake. And she's like, Mom, you build a full-size cake. You can do this. This is nothing. And then it takes me back down. Or I'll call a friend and I'll cry over the phone and they'll give me the same advice. Jewel, you're awesome at this. You've done way bigger than this. You can do this. So really, I guess my de-stress is actually opening my mouth and sharing that I'm stressed, and then having people talk me down and saying, okay, my thing that I do is when something's going wrong, I just go like this. Okay, I wipe my hands and I say, we're starting fresh. All that junk before is done. What do we do right now to remedy the situation? And that's how I run my business. That's how I work at my job. That's how I run my family. Start fresh, take a deep breath, let's do this.
Yeah, awesome. I think having a safety net is really good, where you can feel vulnerable and comfortable at the same time.
Yes, that's something new for me. I never would allow my friends or family to see me vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But now I see that I have to if I'm going to get through some of the tough parts.
Yeah. And then I know this is going to be again something related to your inner work, but can you share your inner journey the last 10 years? It's been like something totally different, right? From Jewel 10 years back. How was that journey?
Yes, well, yes, the last 10 years have been completely different than I have ever expected them to be. I never saw myself as the cake lady. But now I'm starting to embrace that because I would always be like, no, I'm not the cake lady. I just do cakes because it's art and it's creative. But really, I am the cake lady because no matter how beautiful and awesome the cake is, if your cake doesn't taste good, then so, but I digress. So I never saw myself as the cake lady until now, and I do, and I'm embracing it. I never thought that I would have, so many followers or people that have been actually following me and following my journey from the last 10 years and have watched me on, these TV shows. I never thought that producers would be calling me and that I would, be knowing them by name. Hey, we got another show you want to audition for, whatever. And it's like I don't have to prove myself as much, and I would like to say that, I'm super duper successful and all that, but really it's just one day, one journey, because I'm not exactly where I want to be, but my life is totally different because of my cake journey than I imagined that it would be.
Yeah, fabulous. Please suggest some courses or YouTube channels for someone like me, a newbie.
Oh, sure. Well, I have been what they call a sugar geek since the very beginning. So one of my mentors and who I respect tremendously, her name is Liz Merrick, and she runs Sugar Geek University. I have literally learned everything from her outside of like regular, YouTube channels and things like that. But she is who I started my journey with, how I learned the very basics. I use all her recipes. I've been using her recipes. They're tried and true. I've never had any issues, with my customers. I love everything that she does. So I would highly recommend Sugar Geek University, and also Avalon Yarns, and she also has Avalon. I think it's Cake Sugar School. So between those two, I am kind of who I am today, because they help take your passion from within and turn it into a cake, something beautiful, something tasty, something, jaw-dropping. And I can't say enough good things about those two women. Oh, one other person, Natalie Sidesurf. So those would be the three people that I would highly recommend if you were just getting into doing cakes. So for complete noobs, it would be the Sugar Geek University and Avalon. And then if you want to get into the realistic style cakes, then you want to check out Natalie Sidesurf.
Okay, excellent. If a newbie wants to bake a realistic cake, where do they start?
That's a good question. So realistic cakes they're definitely a type of art form, because when you say realistic, you want it to look realistic. Like you want to be able to look at it and kind of question, is that a cake or is that not a cake? So I think that also starts already with you having an eye for that, an eye for textures, an eye for how shadow works, an eye for how lines works. I think that type of skill and creativity has to come from within. Like I described before, if you're making a tree cake, some people, will just, throw some fondant around a cake, brown cake, and make a couple lines and put some green leaves on top. Well, to do a realistic cake, you have to see everything in its different sections. You have to see the bark and the texture of the bark, and how do you get all those fine lines and details and abnormalities in your bark? How do you get the color differences in the bark and in the leaves, and how are they turned a different way and things? So how you look at the world around you kind of translates in how you build a realistic cake, and that's an art form in itself.
Yeah, I think people have to be very creative and have the different perspective to look around.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. So in order to stand out from rest of the bakers, what does one need to do?
Oh, in order to stand out and be a little bit different, I think it all comes in quality, you do quality work, clean work. Not to mention your cake has to taste good. That's very important. I keep saying that no matter how good your cake looks, if it's cut and if it's dry or if it just doesn't taste quite right, you're not really going to get any customers. But yeah, in order to stand out, you want to do quality work. You want to have great customer service. You need to be patient, and you need to be fair in pricing, and just in how you deal with your customers and your business. It really has to be your baby. You have to take care of your business like your baby, and you have to take care of your customers, and treat them like you would, someone that you respect. Because in the end, you want them to have the best experience ever. And that kind of sets you apart when you're not just selling a cake, but you're selling an experience. So their whole experience should want them to come back. Their whole experience should want them to refer you out to someone. So it takes a strong person sometimes to kind of bow down, maybe, I guess, if that's the right word, to your customer, because no, the customer is not always right, but there's a way to work things out and to give them that service and things like that. So I would say that those are the ways that you can set yourself up and different from other bakers.
Okay, awesome. What kind of orders do you get, and which ones light you up?
Oh, well, I have actually just started opening myself up to what I term regular cakes, but because I specialize in your sculpted and novelty style cakes. So those are the types of cakes that light me up. Like, for instance, I'm actually working on preparing for a cake that is a plain. I've never done a plain before, so I'm nervous but excited at the same time, because now I'm going back and forth to print out, to Kinko's or whatever, printing out pictures of planes and blowing them up. And so I can make all the templates. And so those types of cakes excite me. When I get orders for things like paint cans, like, who does that? Hey, I would like a vanilla cake in the shape of a paint can or a pickle jar. Those types of cakes light me up. I'm starting to get a little excited, I guess, about your regular cakes. They're, you're just round, standard. Yeah, I'm trying. Because all cakes can be beautiful, but the sculpted, the realistic cakes, those are what I like.
Yeah. I did check some of your cake pics on Instagram. They're mind-boggling. Like some are so real that I feel like the one that someone is carrying a handbag.
Oh yeah, the backpack cake.
Yeah. And then the tape recorder, which plays actually.
Yes, it lighted up and it played your favorite music, and you could pick it up, put it on your shoulder, and then put it down and cut it and eat it. Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
How do they have the heart to cut them up?
It's funny you should say that, because the feedback that I constantly get from customers when I call, and because I always check on them, hey, how was your cake? How did you like everything? Every time they go, oh, we haven't cut that cake yet. We're not cutting that cake. Or, we got a separate cake for the guests. This cake is staying with us. And then, they'll cut it a couple days later and tell me how great it was or whatever. But I always get, we're not cutting this cake, because it really is a piece of artwork that they want to keep for as long as possible. But then that's why I always send all my customers professional pictures and things, because the pictures are going to last, forever, and they're always going to remember that cake.
Yeah. Excellent. What's your suggestion to someone who is hesitating to do that side hustle?
Oh, I would highly recommend someone who is kind of hesitant to jump right in and do something. it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to say, well, I'll start this when this is in order. I'll do this when this is in order. You'll never start that way. So you need to just jump right in and then get the feedback from that, twist and twerk things, how it needs to be fixed, and then push on. And then when you get issues or critiques from that, you fix it, you keep going. And that's basically how my cake journey went. It did not start out 100%. I have everything I need. I know everything. I'm literally, even now, still learning and tweaking things. So, yeah.
Fabulous. That's an excellent piece of advice, Jewel.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for being my guest today. I really, really loved your journey. It's so heartwarming.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.